Well, what a cool moment. The Parade of Nations here from the 2023 World Scrabble Championship. Players representing 31 countries is the final count in this room playing Scrabble in English. We will be featuring Sri Lanka and Zambia in this matchup. Lubunda Ngala from Zambia and Hasindu Arumapperuma from Sri Lanka. Should be a good game here. This morning I was joined by Mina Lay, appreciative of her time. And this afternoon we're bringing in a new co-host, Sid Murali, an expert-level NWL player from Dallas, Texas. So you'll have to bear with us. We're both NWL players who are dabbling in Collins for this event. But chat, we're going to rely on you to help us out a little bit. Sid, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm primarily an NWL player, as Matt said, but I'm excited to dabble into the world of Collins, and this is one of the best events to do so. So I'm excited to be here and looking forward to this game as well.
And Sid has a sort of reputation in the United States as an exceptionally defensive player. So I'll just go ahead and preface with that as I toss options his way. You'll probably see a different approach to the game, but one that's really cool. Welcome, Sid. We're very happy to have you aboard. And it's going to be awesome to watch this game. Again, Sri Lanka and Zambia showcased in this matchup. We are broadcasting from Las Vegas, Nevada. That's where this tournament is taking place. Sid and I are off site on the internet doing this virtually, but that's a very good thing because it is about 47 degrees Celsius in Las Vegas for this tournament. It is hot, hot, hot. And a little delay at the start of this tournament meant a shorter lunch break for these players. They only had about 55 minutes to run through the heat, find some food, and come on back. We will have 4 games for you this afternoon, rounds 5, 6, 7, and 8 of this 32-game tournament. And man, I'm just so excited to see how things shake out. You can already tell several of the usual suspects sitting atop the leaderboard, including David Eldar in first place right now, 4-0 with a positive spread over 1,000 points. But at this point, it is still anybody's tournament. And Lubunda to go first, again representing Zambia, and we will see how this rack goes. The nasty WU. We see this on so many opening racks, I feel like, today. HIKLSUW, the pull for Ngala, and options are limited aside from the knowledge of 2 nice 5s, the WHILK and WHISK, both great options out of this rack. But otherwise, Sid, what are you thinking about this turn? If you don't know those 5s, how do you play through these tiles?
Yeah, I generally avoid putting the S on the star, but if it scores a lot of points, then I think that might be an appealing idea. If I don't know Wilk, I would probably play Hulk with a U on the star, but Hulk is also fine, I guess. So we'll see what he does here.
Yeah, lots of options, but we're looking probably to get rid of at least one of the W or the U out of this rack. And that's what we're going to do here. Hulk's coming down using that S, putting it on the star, but that is going to add a lot of points to this play. Hulk's is 32, getting 10 points out of that S, and we're off to the races here. IW, perhaps not the most promising leave, but 32 points. You can't be mad about that on your first turn. As we pass to Hasindu, ABCEIPU is the pull on that side of the board. And lots of fun plays here. I think one of my favorite Collins only words, biach, BIACH, playing down to the H. That's a fun option. Some other really cool words out of a clunky rack. But it's also, I don't know, hubcap perhaps plays from the H for 30 points. That's a really nice word and a really tough spot. Hasindu looking at beach here, and I bet these players do wish they could be at the beach in this intense Las Vegas heat. Oh, yikes. Sid, aren't you glad you're not there today?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Aren't you glad you're not in Las Vegas today?
Yes, I'm glad I'm not in Las Vegas, but Dallas is pretty hot too. So yeah.
Yeah, I heard y'all are in a heat wave right now. Makes me, for those of you who don't know me, I live in Texas, and I'm very happy to be out of the state currently because it is probably about 42 in Texas, not much better. The entire U.S. getting hit by a heat wave right now. except me up in the Northeast. So we take that. And Hasindu going to use that B and that C together, score some points. Beach coming down for 24 points. IPU could lead to some trouble in the future. We'll see what he pulls as we pass back to our Zambian AIJOOWW. Yikes. Oh, not a fun pull. But that J is going to net some big points. JOW on the right side of Beach, a great option. 40 points. Still a volatile leave, AIOW. But Sid, I think you have to pull the trigger on 40 here, right?
Absolutely. It gets rid of the J, one of the two O's, one of the two W's, scores a lot of points. I think it's the way to go. And also takes that mini hotspot out. So absolutely.
Yeah, hit the spot, score the points, and hope that the bag bails you out with the subpar leave. But, no many other choices here. I think you've got to do it. Looks like we're also considering wow out of this rack. And I think jaw going to end up being the play here, JAW. So perhaps looking to use one of those O's on the left side of BA to make OBA here. Jaw, 40 points, IOOW as a leave. And then on Hasindu's side of the board, IIPQSTU. So drawing the Q, but also crucially picking up a U as well. And we'll be able to play out of that. Options potentially, you look to that S maybe to play two quits or quips, a good way to play out of this rack. But there is one awesome play hiding on this board, the sneaky Quasi, QUASI, through the A and Beach is 50 points. But that's a tough spot. And I think in this situation, Hasindu trying to hold on to his S to cash it for more points in the future. Quips, 26 points, though it will set up that big E hook in front, equips. Lubunda to respond, EIIOOW blank. Lots of vowels, no fun. But strategically holding on to OOW last turn, that's going to allow plays making OBA or plays making bow, WOO, to play to the right side of jaw already. 28 points. Maybe not thrilled to hold EII blank, but that's a lot of points out of a rack full of junk. I think you might have to take that. Sid, would you play WOO here as well?
Yeah, it looks like it scores a lot and clears out the rack. And yeah, as you were saying, I think he might have played jaw last turn to set up Woo there in that spot. So that was pretty clever. I like it.
Yeah, that was clever. I didn't know the columns 3 BAO, but of course that makes sense. The Chinese food, and that's going to be a bunch of points. So nice little setup. The JAW play looking a little counterintuitive at first, but going to pay big dividends for Lubunda, who pulls ahead 100 to 50. But Hasindu EEIMSTT. There is some promise on this rack. It looks rather bingo prone. EIST, always going to make you think about bingoing. And there is one hiding on this board through the L in Hulks. There is a Meltiest. It's going to be 68 points and the only playable bingo out of this rack. It's tough to spot, though. Sneaky through that L in the little tunnel like that. I think he's seen it, though.
Yeah, he has it lined up on his rack, and looks like if he can pull the trigger, that would be a great play. The only bingo.
It's one of those, is that something I've seen in a cheese commercial, or is that something that's valid in Scrabble? Some words seem to compare in real life and don't in the lexicon. Other words compare in the lexicon when they don't seem to in real life. And on stream, it's always hard to be certain. We even saw NWL champion Josh Sokol in the last tournament back out of one of these IEST bingos as he pulled Loppiest, LOPPIEST. Melkiest does come down. Very good by Hasindu. 68 points. And it looks like he's drawn a challenge as well, which is going to net 5 more. Again, CSW play for the Americans watching who are used to NWL challenge rules. CSW play typically using 5-point challenge rules. So challenging this word is not going to cost Lubunda his turn. Rather, it's going to add 5 points to the play. So Meltiest for 68 plus 5, 73 points, and Hasindu now leads by 23, 123 to 100. Lubunda's drawn a nice rack here, though, EEIINT blank, and he's looking to bingo on this board. There is one very nice word, front hooking quips, and it looks like he's already set it up on his rack, pulling the trigger quickly. Erinite, ERINITE, 79 points for Lubunda. And I'll counter your bingo with the bingo of my own. Pow. 79 points to put Lubunda ahead, 179 to 123.
Yeah, I really like how quickly he found that play. That was very impressive. Yeah, Collins only 7, hooking equips, and to pull the trigger on that quickly.
Yeah, when you've got great tiles like that, you always look to the highest scoring spot, and of course that's going to be front hooking quips, and no time at all. Is very impressive, pulling the trigger for 79. Hasindu with the great pull of his own at his post bingo draw, EFLNOS blank. And now Hasindu looking to make it 3 consecutive bingos. Fireworks on board 1 here at the Scrabble Players Championship. The highest scoring opportunity would be a double-double, stringing across 2 of the double word scores through the E in Meltiest. And there are a few bingos there. Hasindu, I expect to see him shuffle these tiles around and try and find one. And I think he has, setting up felonies on his rack. Very nice. And here it comes. So I'll bingo, you bingo for more. Well, I'll bingo for even more felonies. A nice find by Hasindu, 90 points to pull back ahead. And we've got a score now 179 to 213, advantage to the Sri Lankan here. Very nice.
It looks like we're going to see another bingo lined up because Hasindu just floated an E. So we might get to see another back-to-back bingo.
Wow. So, it's always tough, always scary to play on stream. But when you drop bingos on stream, man, it feels really good to throw them down in front of the world stage. So traveled now, as these players well-traveled themselves, making the trip out here to Las Vegas from across the globe, coming down 74 points. Bingo, bango, bongo. What comes next? Tell me in the chat. Bungo, perhaps? I don't know. Hasindu looking to make it 5 in a row, but we're running out of lines on this board. I am in O. What's he going to get? D? Maybe there's a chance. And another O. So domino with another N. Domino will not bingo out of this rack, but domino does play very nicely, stacking on top of Erinite. DIONMIIT and NE. Tough to spot a word with 5 overlaps like that, but it'll be 45 if Hasindu's able to see it, that we will not see our 5th consecutive bingo. Though you guys at home, are you not entertained? 4 bingos. Pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah, domino scores a lot of points. There are also other options. He might play domino through the O. That also scores very nicely. And yeah, there's not really a great leave out of this rack, but there are really high scoring options. So let's see what he plays.
Yeah, we'll see. At Lubunda, though he won't be bingoing next turn either, has drawn the X and has already set up a killer play on top of Erinite. AX and XI is going to net him 51 points. So if Hasindu fails to play on top of Erinite and hits that big stacking opportunity, we'll see another big play from Lubunda. Got a lot of points here on board 1 so far in this game. I do want to point out one big extension available on this board as well. Equips does take a front RE for re-equips, and that'll be 57. Not a bingo, But a rather flashy play, a great extension, and 57 points available to whoever is able to pull that first. Hasindu has spotted the word domino and is dropping it down here. 36 points for that play, holds O in as well. But Lubunda simultaneously going to knock out the re-equip spot and play AX for 51 on this next turn, more than likely. And here it comes. 51 points. That's got to be a tough break for Hasindu. You catch back up to pull within 4 and then get crushed with that X. We'll see what he's able to pull into NO. Never want to double that up. Another N here. But there's an I. We've got some flexibility now. A V, maybe an E for a bingo. Oh no, another I. It is still going to give a bingo back though. That's nice. From the E in Aeronite, in Vision will play. You can see Hasindu already sees Vision on his rack, but will he think to add the EN in front? It plays so nicely, hooking Aeronite, hitting that triple word. It does a lot of the things you'd like a play to do. But will you take the extra second and notice the bingo here? We'll find out.
Yeah, if you don't see Envision, Vision is a perfectly good option. Knocks out the Aeronite spot, scores 37, and cuts the lead down to about 20. So we'll see if he flips that N around to the front or if he goes with Vision.
Yeah, we'll see. Envision one of those two. Like, is that with an I? Is that with an E? You can see yourself getting in your own head on that. Now looking at Vino, I'm trying to see where that plays for a good amount of points. I'm not noticing a spot. We'll see. This will be a big moment for Hasindu if he's able to find the bingo here. That E, maybe not where you're looking to bingo, kind of sneaky, hiding up there, but a big pivotal moment for him if he can find it.
I think he's lined up Envision on his rack now, so
there we go.
Hopefully he plays
well
that.
done. Well done. And here it comes. 5 bingos already in this game. And Hasindu to take a small lead. Wow, 314 to 304 now on this board. He's going to give up potential for big overlaps, but Lubunda with a pretty unbalanced rack, B, D, E, G, G, P, T, doesn't quite have the firepower to hit it back. You can say he's been bogged down by these consonants and perhaps bogged the play we're going to see. Unflashy, only 13 points, but such an inflexible rack. You've got to try to play off some of these tiles. Sid, if you were in this situation, would you be more worried about the I alongside that triple word and try to address it with a word like pig or big? Or would you try to play out of these consonants and make a play like bogged down at the bottom?
Yeah, with the score so close, I kind of like the idea of scoring as much as possible and knocking out the scoring spot. I wouldn't be so concerned about that bingo line at the bottom. However, you do bring up a good point about being saddled with too many consonants. And what's the consonant to vowel ratio in the pool right now? It looks, just from the glance, it looks pretty even. So I don't have a huge preference, but I think something like Gip would be a good idea, or Gib, or Big. So we'll see what he does.
Looks like of the 32 unseen, 16 are vowels and 16 are consonants for Lubunda. So you have to be feeling good here about drawing more vowels into this rack, as typically in a game of Scrabble, there are 56 consonants and only 42 vowels. So to see a 1-to-1 ratio like that means this bag is skewed towards vowels. We'll pull the unseen pool up for you at home now, as Pig is going to come down and Lubunda looking to pick a couple of those unseen vowels. See what he pulls. I think this is a respectable decision. Got to address that big spot, especially with an F unseen. An F play could be a killer, and Hasindu has to be disappointed, as he is indeed holding that F, and he's going to have big plays like frag blocked in that spot. AEEFGHR now on Hasindu's rack. We've seen a lot of firepower from him, but no bingos available this turn. Looking to score some points. This is a tight game, just 8 points between the two players right now. And if I'm in this situation, I'm looking to cash in that F for as many points as I can. It plays very nicely under Aeronite. FANG. Here's another place it scores very well. FEH is going to keep a nice bingo prone AEGR, going to allow you some flexibility in the future. Going to block up this board and going to score 29 points to pull Hasindu ahead by 21. ABDEEGT for Lubunda now, and he's got to try to score some points on this board too. On top, he has plays making or on the triple word, a play like BEG and GAR down to the blank R and Aeronite is a good way to score points. ADET, also a great leave, particularly with 5 R's left in the bag. But not many places to bingo on this board. Perhaps he tries to open things up. Badges plays to the S in Meltiest. Badges is 31 points. A play on top like Beg, 21 points with a much better leave. Sid, in this situation, would you play Badges or a smaller play like Beg to keep the flexibility on your rack?
It's a really tough call here. Of course, keeping ADET, it'll be very unlikely to bingo on this board, but it might be good just to keep some balance as you head into the end game. And I don't know if you want to draw too many tiles out of that pool anyway. It looks little clunky, heavy on R's, couple of U's. So I'm not really sure. Badges does score a ton of points, so maybe just for that reason, I'd go for that. But it also opens some scoring spots. I don't think scoring spots are necessarily huge, but yeah, it might. It's close. That's what do you think, Matt?
I could really see it go either way on this position. Man, points are at such a premium on this board. I don't want to give my opponent easy opportunities to score them, but I know I need to be scoring them myself. I think reluctantly I'd end up making a play like Beg, just because I'd be afraid of my opponent crushing me back after a play like Badges, especially with the unseen Z. And again, I'll be calling it a Z all stream because this tournament is hosted in America, but a Z to those of you international viewers. I'd just be afraid of that. And for that reason alone, I think I'd keep things small and tight and make my opponent find a way to beat me on this board. So Lubunda doing a nice job, as I suggested, trying to keep things tight on this board. Don't give any spots back to your opponent. And while you don't have to worry about the S hook behind Aeronites, all 4 S's and both blanks played, you don't want to open anything else up. So DANG, another reasonable option here. BEET may not be the best leave for him, though, and we'll see how this works out. AADEGOR, the pull for Hasindu. And he now trying to score some points, trying to keep his rack reasonably balanced. And the big concern for me, I absolutely want to play one of my R's here. There's still 4 R's left in the bag. So I want to play mine this turn. I don't want to get clogged up with 2 or 3 on my rack next turn.
Yeah, I like this option of Orage. As I said, like I don't know if you want to play that many tiles. However, it does score a lot of points, clear out the R off your rack, as you said. And yeah, I think this pool is getting lower on vowels, but now it's still fine to draw into if you just score and block some scoring spots. So I like that option for sure.
Yeah, Origin, nice way to score a lot of points out of this rack. One big danger, though, that unseen Z playing with ZA, playing with ZE. I could get crushed by it if my opponent has it. But we know Lubunda does not have it, and now Lubunda needs to be concerned about Z plays to the left side of Orage. I bet we see him block that spot with a play like Bat or Tab. But he also has more points available. Words like BETTAS, play to the S in Melktiest. Sid, are you blocking the Z spots here?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Would you block the Z opportunities to the left side of Orage here?
Yeah, I like the idea of tab, just to block that spot. Also, it might be valuable to keep two E's on your rack, given that the pool is now a little bit short on val. Oh, it's a little clunkier with those U's and Y's, and also there's only one E left. So just maybe for flexibility's sake, I like EERT. And of course the Z is going to be huge. So yeah, I would go for blocking that. There there might you can also maybe play the Z at the top, but it might just be easier to parallel on in that tap spot. So just with a lack of other options, I think tab is a good play.
Yeah, tab and bat, though, could both yield big overlaps back. Any overlap there would have to make AG, and then, of course, the Z could go in front of that. If you play bat, you form BA, and that takes a front A. If you form tab, you form TA, and that takes both a front E and a front U. So those do partially constrict, but don't fully constrict, and you still add a little bit of danger to Z plays. A lot to think about here for Lubunda. A lot of bad things that could happen, and no full way to address those things. Chad also pointing out ITA. Thank you for that. Yes, again, NWL player here. I'm sort of blind. Of course, I know these threes, but I just don't think to spot them. ITA also a big concern. So perhaps bat, but if your opponent has that A, that could be trouble. If your opponent has an O, that could be trouble.
Yeah, it seems like whatever you do, there might be some really bad scenario. It's good for Lubunda that Hasindu has complete junk on his rack, so I don't think he'll be able to respond with a lot of points. So we'll see what happens here.
So bat, indeed, the play here, holding both of those E's, which are seeming to be more and more important as many of the good tiles get played off in this game. Some potential for overlaps, COZ or something could be an absolute killer here, but there's no way to fully address the spot, and I think you do your best. That's what Lubunda does here, and he'll also grab 22 points in the process. We got a 1-point game, folks. 368 for Lubunda, 369 for Hasindu, and Hasindu now pulled almost all of the remaining vowels out of the pool, has 5 of them, and you got to think, dang, when this happens. But then you realize, oh, that means my opponent likely doesn't have very many on his rack. So maybe this was a good thing. Adeiilu for Hasindu. Oh man, this is tough. I don't want to be digging into that bag and pulling RRRRYYUZ. At the same time, I'm going to have to play some tiles to score some points here. I think maybe splitting the difference, a play like Alu, ALU, on the left side of bat, making ABBA, lag, and Ute is a good option. But there are also plays that open this board up. Again, that S in Meltiest giving opportunities to make a play like Dulias or Ladies. Sid, are you keeping things tight in this situation, making the overlap of Alu or something similar, or would you open it here?
Yeah, on previous turns, I think it was a pretty close call, but I think I'm leaning towards Alu here. Just it scores just as many points as Dulia's, and that leave of DEII, which might look ugly at first, goes pretty well with the pool. Because you're only going to draw 3 tiles and probably not get duplicated. So and you can also pull the Y or the Z for scoring. So it's not playing that many fewer tiles. It's keeping things tight, and the leave is probably better than the leave like IU or EI anyway on this board or with that pool. So if he sees that, I think it's a great option.
Yeah, Sid making a great point. As you get later and later into the game of Scrabble, your standard valuation of leaves matters less and less, and you have to consider more and more the tiles in the unseen pool. So generally, holding 2 eyes on your rack is a big no-no. But when you know you can't triple them up, when you know they're the last 2 eyes in the game, a little bit less scary to you. Although IIYY, that could be a lot of trouble. IIYU, still a lot of trouble. So not superb, but better than in normal situations to hold onto those two eyes there.
Absolutely. And it looks like he's going with a side, which is also a pretty good choice to score a lot of points and keep things tight. And that IL you leave, there could with this bullet, there are worse leaves. So this is a pretty good option. I like this.
Yeah, that I and the U looking to afford some flexibility to Hasindu. Will he pick up the Z? Will he pick up a Y? We'll see, but a big, big draw for Hasindu. Will he have the flexibility to hang on to his lead in this game, or will he pull junk? Beorrty on Lubunda's rack. He is now facing a 21-point deficit, and crucially has pulled one of the Ys to hit Beachy. I think that's a big hook, and it's incredible how a word that takes a Y hook has just sat there all game on a tight board, but both Ys remained unseen until the end. Not a good way to play those beachy plays without giving some points back to your opponent, though. Hasindu with his post a side draw, ILORUUZ. So not the flexibility he was looking for, but that Z may net him some points depending on what happens to the bag here.
Yeah, and it looks like Rye up top is a pretty good option to leave one in the bag, score some points, keep a balanced leave. So he looks like he has Terry lined up on his rack, but I'm not sure where that's gonna go. I think he's gonna play maybe two or three tiles just to not empty the bag and maybe score some points. So we'll see what he does.
Yeah, 11 unseen tiles means 4 tiles in the bag. And in tight games like this, in the absence of opportunities to bingo, that's not something you have to be worried about here. Going out before your opponent is so key. If you make a 4 or 5 tile play here, your opponent has 7 tiles and there's none for him to draw in the bag. Your opponent is likely going to get to make the last play in the game, as you won't be able to go out with your 6 tiles. So I think playing off 2 tiles here is the goal, or perhaps 3 to add just enough, like a cloud of mystery to the end game my opponent has to solve. You also have to look at that unseen pool. It is so ugly that on a board like this, perhaps my opponent can't go out into even if the bag is empty. I don't know what to do here. I think a play like RYE and EAR on the top is a great idea. Maybe RYES to the S in Meltiest if you're looking to set up your E. You have the last one to underlap. Looks like TRY coming down, and I actually like this. I didn't consider it over the board, but you're scoring at more points than RYE. And drawing into this rec, EEOR, actually going to give you a little bit more flexibility here, as you expect to pull several consonants. And if you pull vowels, your opponent's rec is absolutely dreadful. So neat idea there by Lubunda, and he'll pick up nice tiles. Got to be relieved to see that, as Hasindu, becoming more and more apparent to Lubunda, has all of the clunky U's and that Z on his rack without many opportunities to do anything with them. ILORUUZ on Hasindu's rack. And he can play Zoa, ZOA, to the A and Beach. That'll be 32, a useful 32-point play. But ILRUU, when your opponent has a great rack, can you win? Or is that too inflexible for you to win? You also have to ask yourself what's in the bag. If I pull another R into this, it's pretty ugly. If I pull an N into ILURR, it's pretty ugly. What tiles could bail me out after a play like Zoa? What other options do I have? There's one other good option, Rosit, ROZIT, to the last Z and Meltiest. That would hold Ulu, which is a word, but you're also going to pick up one more tile. So, Sid, do you think, given Zoa or Rosit, which would you prefer to play here?
It's really tough because Zoa is a lot of points, 32 points, but you're almost guaranteed to not go out first. But at the same time, Rosette, with that Yulu leave, I don't see anywhere that those tiles would go, and especially drawing another tile, it's unlikely to go out first either. So maybe Maybe he would play something else. Like maybe it's a good idea to play off a U, just keeping both options for the end game. But this is a kind of position that it's really hard to weigh what to do, just because you want to score a lot of points, but you also want to go out before your opponent. So it's tough. I would maybe just lean towards Zoa and pray. I think that's what Hasindu is going to do, but um, it's really tough to say what to do in this position. What do you think?
Rosit along the bottom would have given back CERO for mega points. And so I think for that reason, you can't pull the trigger on that. And Lubunda now, with the bag empty, knows that his opponent, if he tracked right, is sitting on ILRUUY, and going to have to figure out what to do. Yuzu, likely the best option for Hasindu, having drawn that Y. Will that be enough? Is there a winning sequence for Ngala? Does he need to try to block Yuzu? A lot of questions for him to answer. He will have a decent amount of time to solve this game at 9 minutes, but my Quackle simulation says there's no winning sequence for him here. Oof. Tricky turn, tricky situation.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, as you said, it looks like he has 9 minutes, so we'll see if he can figure this out. I initially thought like he might be able to squeak by just because he has a better rack and he can go out first, but maybe it's not so obvious because anything he plays might give some scoring options back. Like if he puts the C at 12A, then Lyric would probably go down, and that would be enough points. So it looks like Zoa was a good call just to score a lot of points and maybe even outlast his opponent going out in 2. So we'll see what Lubunda does, but it's going to be tricky to navigate this endgame.
Yeah, that Y was absolutely essential for Hasindu in this game. That Y pull, very clutch. Yuzu and Ruli and Beachy, both options for him to cash in. So Lubunda, unable to block both of them without giving points back, is in some trouble. I think he might be looking at Zoner here to avoid the Yuzu play, but Zoner is going to give back YU for a lot of points. This is tough. This is a tough situation, and I think the longer Lubunda stares at this, the more he realizes no matter what he does, Hasindu is going to be able to hit him back with a good amount of points, either Yuzu, Beachy, or if he plays long to the S, a word like Lyric.
Yeah, if you know that there's no direct path to winning, then it might be worthwhile to see like what play gives your opponent the highest chance of messing up. And if he thinks Hasindu will see Yuzu, then Rez saving Crones will be the way to go. But if he plays some word from 12A, then if he thinks Lyric is easy to see, then that he probably won't do that. So we'll see what he's thinking. It looks like he has Crone lined up for Crones, but he might not end up playing that at the end. So we'll just have to see.
Yeah, perhaps you think about playing the ER first to retain Crohn's. REZ would block Yuzu and would hold Recon. You'd set yourself up to play down from that triple. You'd also hold Crohn's to the S, but that sequence is not enough to outrun Ruli and Beachy and would narrowly lose the game. Yeah, a tough situation for Lubunda, and we've all been here before where you know what your opponent has. It looks like maybe a promising situation, and as you go through option after option after option, you realize, wait, that gets outrun. This gets outrun. This gets outrun. Oh no, oh no. I expect to see Lubunda spend all of his time here trying to find sequence, but we at home know that without a mistake from Hasindu or a misplay, it is Hasindu's game to win. This has been a great game. I think well played from both players. a solid showing for both of them. Obviously, a lot of bingos came down on the board, and they were all found by these players aggressively, and all found rather quickly. Both players with a good amount of time left on their clocks for this end game. A good showing for both of these guys as they look to rebound from 1-3 sessions this morning.
Yeah, I'm really impressed by the level of play in this game as well. Both players playing exceptionally, with those bingo finds early right off the bat, taking almost no time, and then navigating their way through the middle and end of this game. I feel like all the plays they made were good candidate plays. So unfortunately, one of these players will have to lose, but I don't think either one's going to feel too bad about this, by how close this game is and how well played this game is.
Yeah.
So.
I fully agree. They left it all on the table, and that's the thing. You can play well and somebody's got to lose. You can play poorly and somebody's got to win, but both of these guys playing rather well this game, and unfortunately one of them has to lose. Chat is pointing out a fun sequence holding that Crohn's play to the S. We were talking about dropping RE to the Z in Zoa. Chat is pointing out the attempt of re-envision, which would be a winning sequence probably. It does get back YIRR, but that scores very well. And re-envision is ridiculously NWL only. There are only a handful of words valid in the North American lexicon that are not valid in the world lexicon. Is that real? No, I think I'm being trolled by chat. Yeah, this is why I don't engage with the chat. Okay, well, it's real, not being trolled. Is that real? Oh. So Res, the sequence we discussed originally coming down, re-envision is NWL only. How ridiculous. Wow. Res, I like this sequence a lot. It forces Hasindu to find the Ruli and Beachy play, and we saw this in round 4. If you've got a situation where you can't win, make your opponent make a mistake. Try to figure out how to induce it. We saw Vanitha do a great job of that on board 1 in round 4, and she ended up squeaking out the game because of it. So Hasindu now must find Ruli. It is his only winning play.
Yeah, Res looks like a great way to make your opponent make a mistake. So, is Beachy and Ruli the only way to outrun?
Yes. It is the only winning play. Hasindu's got to do the math here, got to figure out, okay, if I play Ruli, I score 24 points. That puts me at 445. I'm up by 42. How much do those plays make? How much does Recon score? How much does Crohn's score? Can I survive those? Recon to score 29, Crohn's to score 27. The 42-point lead will be just enough, as he'll only get caught with 2 tiles. You on his rack. You and you are to the left side of Res, but Crohn's to play to the S would be a winning sequence then for Lubunda. Re-envision NWL only. How unreal. I can't believe it. Exciting game, crazy sequence, and Hasindu now has to make a somewhat counterintuitive play of Ruli. Really tough to make. It gives back a triple word square. You never think to give your opponent a triple word square. And Lubunda with the tiles to hit it can play corner and go out. But Ruli's going to score enough to outrun it. We've had a few drubbings on board 1, a few games where one player just couldn't get it going, the other player jumped out to a big lead. But this has been a nail-biter. Back and forwards all game. Lots of fireworks. Lots of bingos. A nice little setup to Lubunda. I really like that sequence of Jaw setting up WOO, and even though he pulled terribly after Jaw, able to net himself some points and then bingo the next turn. Some crafty play by both of these players. And this just demonstrates all across the globe. It's not just North America. It's not just the UK. It's not just Australia with great Scrabble play. But Lubunda doing a great job demonstrating the play in Zambia. Hasindu representing Sri Lanka well as well. Both of these guys have a lot to be proud of in their countries as well. See, Hasindu has not yet set up Ruli on his rack. I wonder if perhaps he doesn't know the 5 letters CRONE, or maybe just doesn't see it on the rack. You have to be worried about a setup. Your brain goes straight to that top left triple word after a play like Res. But Res was in part a block of Yuzu and not so much a setup. Tough decision here. One play to win the game. Any other possibility will lose. Tough situation. Can you believe after all this thinking from Hasindu, he has to play 3 more games of Scrabble today? This is already game 5, and there are 3 more, 8 games in a day. I can't imagine. I mean, I can. I've done it before, but it is hard, especially when you second guess every decision you make on the stream. Oof. Oof. Can he get a second lunch break after this? I think he hasn't yet spotted the beachy spot. His mind's so fixated on this top left corner, I don't think he's seen it. You could hear a pin drop. Just kidding. You see, most of the games have already finished, and there's a lot of noise and walking around going behind Hasindu, who tries to block it all out, hand on his head, fixated on the tiles in front of him. Once again, this is the World Scrabble Championship brought to you by WESPA, the World English Scrabble Players Association. Players from 31 countries across the globe have flown to the United States to Las Vegas, Nevada, where they are playing in a 32-game tournament. The top 2 players after those 32 games will be pulled aside for a best-of-7 matchup. We will broadcast 1 game from each of those 32 rounds, plus all 7, if necessary, games of that best-of-7 final right here on twitch.tv/Scrabble. We have the same schedule every day. Play to begin at 9 o'clock a.m. Pacific time, noon Eastern time, with a lunch break, and play resuming at 2:30 p.m. Las Vegas time or Pacific time. Hasindu is going to drop down Ryu here. He will take the bait set up by Lubunda, and assuming Lubunda sees his best play of Crohn's to go out, he will win the game. But now Lubunda, only 1 play to win. He cannot play Cornet to the T. He must play Crohn's, or he will lose the game. And he set it up here. It's going to take some time, do the math, double check his tracking. Less than 2 minutes to think this all through. But he is going to place Crohn's. This was perhaps his plan all along with the play of Res, and a great job by Lubunda. Set the trap for your opponent. Hope that they make a misplay. Distract their eye to a different quadrant of the board. And he's done just what he needs to do 27 points for the outplay of Crohn's means Lubunda, after gaining 6 points from Hasindu's rack, will win this game 436 to 431. What an exciting matchup. What great games by both of these guys. And at the end of the day, Hasindu, unable to spot the Beachy and Murali play, will lose by just 5 points. But a great showing from Lubunda of Zambia, and nothing to be ashamed of from Hasindu of Sri Lanka. Hasindu going to throw a challenge at this word as well. Of course, you have to in this situation. And that's going to add 5 more points. So 441 to 431 to be our final in this game. Wow. What a great one. I enjoyed watching this. I hope y'all at home did too. And we will cut to overhead cam, see if we can catch some of the banter from these players.
45, 41. And then I don't think I can stop. I was going to play yeah. I played this and hoped you would go for something like cornet or something, and I knew that Crowns was there. I had to take the chance. Don't think I can have any other good one.
So initially I wanted to play Crowns, then remain with Rays. Yeah. But I knew if I did that, I was going to give you a higher chance of actually.
No, my final rack was bad, so.
Last game gave me one of the toughest games. So 435, 431. Yes, I have to take a picture of it as well.
The players now submitting their scores. There's a neat electronic system now cutting down on some paperwork. Each player, I believe, has a QR code on their badge, and you scan the QR code to submit your results electronically. Cut down on the paper and the paperwork used. Good for the environment as well. Nice and efficient for everybody. What an exciting game, though. 10 points after the 5-point challenge on the outplay. Lubunda representing Zambia well. We are going to cut to a brief intermission before we get back to rounds 6, 7, and 8 this session. Once again, Matt Canik joined by Sid Murali. We will be back with more coverage shortly. And again, the goal today is to showcase as many countries as possible. I will let you know as soon as we have that next matchup. I'll drop it in chat. Y'all at home, don't go anywhere. We're hoping to bring you more intense and exciting games of Scrabble. Until then, stay tuned.